Trump at CPAC. I thought he was great. You should watch it. It's available on the internet. He talked a lot about election fairness or lack thereof. Somebody who is working with President Trump in the trenches, Jenna Ellis, the attorney. Now she is the host of Just the Truth on Real America's Voice Network, a Newsmax contributor as well. Jenna, welcome back. Great to see you.
Great to see you too, Greg. Thanks.
Jenna, there are some specifics I want to talk about in this new Michael Wolff book. But first, overall, I have heard this from some key figures. I've never run it by you, that President Trump, when he was fighting that fight after the election before inauguration about fairness, he was done in as much by Republicans, key Republicans, as by Democrats. That there were certain Republicans who should have been fighting for him but were so eager to throw in the towel, and they undermined him. Do you buy that?
Oh, absolutely. And I just had Bernie Kerik on my show earlier as well, and he was right there with the legal team, with myself and Rudy Giuliani, and he affirmed that as well. We saw that from the depths of the inside, that the RNC was not supportive of President Trump. And the sinister nature of this, Greg, is not just that the party that supposedly supported President Trump was not with him in the aftermath of the election. They were telling the American people that they were, and they were fundraising off of it. But the lawyers, particularly the RNC chief counsel, Justin Reimer, was specifically saying that what Rudy and Jenna are doing is a joke. He was saying that the RNC fundraises more when a Democrat is in office, in the office of the presidency. I mean, these kinds of things that were so malicious and outright lying to the American people from what they were projecting of support of President Trump versus what they were actually thinking and doing on the inside. So it's absolutely true.
So listen, I guess maybe we should. When I heard that Ronna Romney McDaniel was elevated to Republican national chair, I had my concerns. You know, her middle name, Romney, and but turns out, well, you characterize her. She's still on the job, I believe. She is related to Mitt Romney. One might suspect that she has an allegiance, perhaps, to Mitt, and maybe some resentment of President Trump. What's your take on her?
Well, she has an allegiance to money, and she has an allegiance to having the RNC continue, regardless of whether that is pro-Trump or anti-Trump or which way the wind blows. And that is so establishment corrupt. It's disgusting, because the Republican Party should be principled and should move forward the America First agenda, because that is the principles of liberty and freedom. And that's why Americans love President Trump. But for Ronna McDaniel, it's all about the money. It's all about fundraising. And that's what the RNC is all about. And so they supported President Trump, but did they really? Establishment Republicans, even like Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy, they will turn their back on President Trump and you and me, the voters, as soon as they get the opportunity, because it's all about power to them. It's all about the money to them, and because money means that they get to stay in power. They don't care about you and me and the voters or advancing any sort of agenda. All they care about is the self-interested nature of the swamp's corruption. And that's what's so disgusting about this story. And it's true. And for Ronna to allow her RNC spokesperson to lie about this story when she had the emails from Justin Reimer, that is absolutely corrupt. She needs to resign.
Well, all right. So you mentioned this. Let's go through it again, though. I want to put up this new book by Michael Wolff. It's his version about the election. This guy, by the way, he makes stuff up all the time. The Final Days of the Trump Presidency by Michael Wolff. Now, in the book, and there's a summary of this. We'll go to the insider, if you don't mind. Let's go ahead and put up the quote about what happened. And you apparently were here when this happened. In the note, yes. Reimer, the guy on the left, the RNC lawyer who's still there, I believe, Reimer reportedly wrote to his RNC colleagues asking why they were backing Trump's unfounded claims of election fraud, while also expressing that the organization raised more cash battling Democrats than challenging election results. All right. Now, wait a second. He could have just been watching all the fake news that was saying, hey, this thing is over, it's time to give up. Is that a possibility, that he was duped like a lot of other people?
Well, he's the chief counsel for the RNC, so if he's duped, then he should resign just for being stupid. But no, he absolutely knew what was going on. And I put out those emails tonight on my show on Just the Truth. So those are now out in the public domain. They were apparently from his actual RNC account. And listen, Justin Reimer has every he's entitled to his opinion, but what he's not entitled to is to not support Trump, but then the organization that he works for go out and say that they are supporting Trump when they're actively undermining Trump. That's the lie here. And then for the RNC spokesperson to say that this story was false just because Michael Wolff, of course he's not, really that credible. We all know that. I'm not endorsing, all of his projects or anything, but this particular story was correct, this excerpt, and the RNC and Ronna McDaniel and Justin Reimer knew it, but the RNC spokesperson still denied it as false. That's the problem.
So, Jenna, why would you want to stay in the Republican Party? You doesn't sound like you have a home there. And I was just passed a note that you might have an announcement to make regarding your affiliation as a Republican.
Yes, well, I also announced today that I am leaving the Republican Party until the Republican Party comes back home to conservatives. I will stand up and champion truth, conservative principles, our Declaration of Independence as America's charter, and the U.S. Constitution, but I will not stand and abide by a party that says that we have to support everything that comes under the banner of R, even though it's not conservative. For Ronna, for example, to tweet in affirmation of Pride Month, for this whole infrastructure bill, for what Mitch McConnell said about President Trump in the aftermath of the second impeachment hoax, all of these things are not conserving our principles of liberty and justice for all. They're not conserving our Constitution. So I'm not going to stand by and support a party that doesn't support my values. And if every single registered Republican who's a true conservative demands of the Republican Party, you actually have to be conservative, otherwise we're not giving to you. The RNC is money dependent. It's dependent on donors and fundraising. The only way that they are able to get away with these lies and not actually representing us in Washington is because the people haven't stood up and said enough is enough. I am. I'm saying enough is enough. I'm done.
Jenna Ellis, wow. We appreciate it so much and appreciate your efforts and your work. We'll check out Just the Truth on Real America's Voice Network, and you'll be back on Newsmax soon. All the best, and thanks a lot.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.